we have no discussion items, but we do have old business. We have behind the meter generation solar requirements. I see Mr. Shervine here. Did you want to say anything this evening?
Oh, I have plenty to say.
All right, well, you have 15 minutes.
All right, I don't know if we can dissect your whole resolution in 15 minutes, but we'll give it a shot, right?
Well, we go as far as we can.
We'll go as far as we can. I appreciate what you guys do. I watch you guys on TV here and all this other stuff. I do have a couple questions, a statement, and then I do appreciate your letter here you sent me.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so are all these meetings recorded?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And
We're audio.
we're audio
But we're
recorded.
on Zoom. We're on Zoom. We're recording, and then we're.
And how do you obtain copies of that, like the previous meetings? Is that, where do you get
The
it?
Zoom meetings have been posted on the website.
The committee meetings, these are not.
They're not. We can post them.
So you do save them.
They're saved for a very limited amount of time.
How about
They're
the,
not saved in perpetuity.
how about the minutes? Are they, because I've been reviewing the minutes and there's some duplicates on your January 18th or 13th and 16th. They're showing February 8th. The minutes aren't consistent on your website for this committee meeting.
They're not consistent with what the topics we discussed were?
Well, no, they're not consistent. You're putting February 8th on two of them, the January 13th and
Okay.
February 16th. Whoever's doing your web work isn't doing their job, or something's been aloof. But the minutes there, the synopsis minutes, there must be, are there full minutes to a meeting before they're condensed into that?
No.
Not committee meetings, I don't think.
Not committee meetings.
I know that the work session and the voting session.
Okay, so they're not, the records, and how long are the records kept, the Zoom? If we went back to last year in December, November?
It's less than a month.
Okay, well, I'm recording now, so we're gonna keep them.
Sure.
Okay. What's the name of the electric company in town here?
I've always done it as the Ephrata Borough Electric Division. That's how I've known it.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And who's in charge of that? Who makes the decisions in that company?
Are we gonna try it?
No, I'm just asking these questions. I mean, I'm asking.
So I'm just, I would say, I know that, we have our electric superintendent,
We have electric system manager,
system manager,
and
okay?
then we have a utility manager.
Okay, so they're in charge of all the happenings in that electric company, the Borough of Ephrata. And who are they?
Well, Steve Morrison is here, Bruce Hawes is here, Charlie Negrelli is here.
I'm the utility manager.
Okay, perfect. So they're the ones that are in charge of the electric company. Okay, awesome. Your resolution 2019-15, it was a resolution to your amendment.
Hold on, resolution
2019-15.
2019-15, okay?
It's the resolution that we're going over.
Okay.
Who voted for that resolution to be passed?
We'd have to look, we'd have to look back. It was voted on in 2019, we'd have to look back. I mean, I know I probably voted for it.
I'm sure I voted for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it was probably unanimous, but I don't wanna say that out of turn.
I just want to make sure that everybody knows what the resolution.
It'd be nice to have this stuff in advance.
Yeah.
I don't shoot from the hip too well,
Yeah.
and
I mean, if yeah, these are questions we probably would have been able to research.
It's fair to say that it probably was a pretty unanimous decision. I mean, I don't
Well,
know.
it's definitely a majority decision.
Gotcha.
It got
What-
passed.
Okay, I mean, I know Sue voted for it because I have her name as a signer on
I have to sign resolutions
it, whether you like it or not.
Whether I vote for it or not.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. So, and it's been my contention all along that this resolution, the ordinance, and the mayor is here tonight, you signed the original ordinance, correct?
Or if there's an ordinance, I signed it.
You signed it, so you're familiar with the ordinance, and if I could probably ask you some questions about it, you would know
That would be
about.
no.
What's that?
That would be no.
You wouldn't know what the ordinance is for that you signed.
I would, be able to look it up, but do I remember every ordinance that I've ever signed in 28 years?
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, we may touch base on that. I might want to ask you some questions on it, because I mean, there's some pretty difficult things to understand. So, and you'll have to forgive me, I don't know if this is a current handbook, but it's your Borough Council handbook. And if you'll just bear with me in this. few sentences that I'll read here, and this has to do with the ordinance that was passed. So, the Borough Council Handbook in August of 2019, your legislative powers, and the code that's refers to as this Borough Council Handbook, it says, the code includes an especially important power, the authorization to the governing body to make and adopt all ordinances, bylaws, rules, and regulations deemed necessary for the proper management and control of the borough in order to maintain good government and protect the safety and welfare of its citizens. A municipality is forbidden, however, to enact legislation in conflict with the Constitution and the laws of the Commonwealth. This general grant of power authorizes any legal action on the part of council to maintain peace, good government, welfare of the borough, and protect the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of its inhabitants. Courts have held these general police powers and are not unlimited. An exercise of the police power must not be unreasonable, unduly oppressive, patently beyond the necessities of the case. The means it employs must have a real substantial relation to the objects sought to be obtained. It must not invade the fundamental liberties of the citizens. Each legitimate legislative goal cannot be pursued by means which stifle fundamental personal liberty when the goals can otherwise be reasonably achieved. The gist of it was, you can't make an ordinance that varies from the law. And that's what has happened here in 2010. An ordinance was made.
In 2010, did you say?
Well, ordinance 14, this could be a bigger tabletop here, you know. Ordinance 1464, signed into effect by the mayor, Gary Nace, Kilcusky, and a borough secretary that I can't read his signature. Nace again. So this ordinance here is in direct violation, or it varies from Pennsylvania law. So far outside the law that was already in place. Also, if we get into the whole thing, and if we had time, we're gonna dissect as much of it as we can. Your system wants to put a tax meter between my panels and before I even use it. So
Can you explain that to me so I better?
All right, so the roof panels are up top.
Right.
You want to put a meter between those panels and before I even use any of that energy that I generate.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the way PP&L does it. You know, we're not reinventing the wheel here, as, you know, Mr. Reinhold has said a second ago. We can go to PP&L and look and see how they do it. So there's a tax meter there. You want something from me. That's a tax. You take it. It gets put back out onto the grid. And then, as I need that electric again, you'll charge me again for that. I'm getting double taxed. It's actually a federal violation. You can't double tax me. The only thing you can
When
claim.
you say tax, can I just ask you a question? Because
Sure.
we're using the word tax, and I'm not understanding that. Are you talking about that we're charging you for distribution charges?
Well, it's a tax. When the government wants something for you.
Hold on a second, I just wanna make sure that we're on the same page.
Sure, by your definition.
Okay, by my definition, you're saying, when you say taxing, you're saying you're charging me distribution charges. I just wanna make that clear so that
Sure.
I'm understanding. Okay, so
Sure, I mean-
you say tax, and we say we're charging for distribution, so
That would be for a judge to decide there.
Right, but
Because
I
you're
wanna make
taking
sure
something
that
from
when
me.
you say tax, we're
Wait, the
what's
government,
definition of
the
tax?
government wants something, they're going to
Okay,
take it.
gotcha.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a tax. Whether it's a dollar or we're going to take something from you, that's a definition of a tax, when the government wants something. You guys are a government. You take it, it goes back on the grid, I buy it back again and I get taxed a second time. That violates my federal constitutional rights.
So you're saying you're getting distribution charges twice, because you're saying tax, I have tax equals distribution charge, so you're saying you're taxed one way, you're taxed the other way, so you're saying that we're charging you distribution charges twice?
I'm taxed because I generate this electric, you take it from me, it goes back to the grid, and when I need it again, you'll tax me again on it when it comes back.
So are you saying that we're charging distribution charges on you twice when you say we're taxing you twice?
I'm not gonna say it's a distribution charge, I just call it a tax, because it's being taken from me by government.
And I'm
So-
I'm not understanding the second tax, so I'm
Right.
asking more, okay.
So when it comes back, in essence, it's almost like a double tax, or it is. But we go back to the thing where this ordinance was made in 2010. It was in direct violation of Pennsylvania law. It differed from the laws in Pennsylvania. Even though you may say, hey, those are the laws that the PUC uses, those are the same laws you use for the downtown Ephrata Fair, for bus driver registration, for a limo driver. These are codes and bulletin in Pennsylvania. These are the laws we use in this state. So, I don't know that we really, is your ordinance even, is it a fair ordinance at all? Is it an ordinance? And then this ordinance, to top it off, doesn't really say anything. It says it's supported by resolutions that are nothing more than the opinion of the council at the time. And a resolution is nothing more than a temporary thing. It's not a real law. This ordinance is very vague at best. And you can see the resolutions, as numerous as they are pages long. And, I mean, I would love to sit here and you explain to me how that resolution works. Is that something that could be done? Because I don't understand it, and I understand solar.
Are you talking about what a resolution is?
Well, what the resolution means to me as a customer, like I want to put solar up. Would you be able to tell me how that works with your resolution? Could you, the resolution the way it is, and I say, hey, if I generate an extra 60 kilowatts a month, what's that going to put back in my bank account? Could you answer the question with this resolution? Because I've showed this to people and they're like, this doesn't make any sense. How can you determine what is what? It's not like PP&L where it's a credit one for one back. It's not like the rest of Lancaster County. We're the borough here, and when you drive anywhere outside the borough, and if you don't believe me, pull up Google Maps. You're driving the Green Dragon. There's 3 or 4 houses on the left side of the road that have solar panels. You go on this side where the borough is, well, there's no panels. Why is that? Why? You go out towards Boniface, there's developments. You get outside the borough line, there's solar panels. Look at them. Look inside the borough lines. There's no solar panels. Why is that? Is it because the sun only shines on that one side of the street? Are we poor? Are there trees? Are the houses not aligned? It's not. These rules are incorrect. I mean, they just are. And I can look at your borough handbooks, I can look at municipal law, I can look at all this stuff, but you guys have to be reasonable. I mean, this is a reasonable request. Your solar policies don't even coincide with the law, which your handbook says you have to coincide with. And you are, I'm sure I can explain to you what a variance is. It's saying I don't want to comply with the law. And this is a quote. I want to do something else, and here's the reason why I don't want to do it. And one of the reasons is universally rejected is that I can do this because I can make more money. That's not a legal basis for a variance. And that was quoted by your own solicitor here a couple weeks ago. A judge would look at this exactly the same way. Your electric company wants to make more money, and that's not the reason to be environmentally, unfriendly. So, I think the best thing to be would be to remove your ordinance, because it didn't coincide with the law. 10 years ago it didn't. These resolutions are very complicated, no one can understand them. And net metering is quite simple. Go to PP&L's website and look at it. I've given you the net metering laws from Pennsylvania. They're much more complicated than they actually have to be. When you overproduce, it is your credit for the next month. It's how it's done in Pennsylvania. It's how it's done in Lancaster. It's just not how it's done here in Ephrata. And what other reasonable requests? I mean, I could explain that to a kid and probably get through to them. But I can't explain it to a council that is protecting the profits of an electric company. And so there also in lies the problem. If that is the case, then it's also a violation of code, that there would be an outside interest involved here, that possibly the council is protecting the authority, if it's called the authority, or the electric company. I don't know how it works.
Well, Mr. Sherwine, I appreciate your efforts to, make us, aware of what's going on and how you feel. The problem I see it here is, per the letter the committee sent to you, is what we're asking for, instead of generalities speaking, is to sit down and just go tell us exactly what you would.
Perfect.
But I've asked that for a couple of months now and haven't gotten it yet, so.
Okay, I mean, honestly, you can go right to PPL's website. If they have a nice little
So
page.
you're saying we're to go to PPL's website and download their net metering policy, and that's what you want ours to say? Is that
Well,
what
it
you're
would
saying?
be it would be the same as Pennsylvania. That's
Okay.
their law. I mean, and just in reference a second ago, go to PPL's website. You can just copy and paste what they had. You're not rebuilding the wheel here.
That's what you.
That was
want.
just a
Okay.
suggestion a second ago.
That's what I have been asking you for a couple of months, is to say
But-
exactly what you want our.
But in all honesty, I mean, you have to know there's a problem here. I mean, you guys are politicians. You'll never admit to it, but the truth is, net metering isn't working here in the borough because you've made the rules too hard. But I don't think you had the authority to do it in the first place. I think that ordinance that was made in 2010 is BS. And I think a judge would look at that and there's gonna be problems. So I welcome the chance to take this further to court. I mean, I don't know how you advance to that, if what we do or go from there, but this is something so simple to be changed. But what you guys have done is so far outside the law that you have to be accountable for it. There's accountability for this.
Okay, yes.
Sir, your accusations I'm listening to, I find most of them caustic to my thought process.
Well, you were Mr. Accountable a second ago with the telephone poles.
I am, sir. I've been doing it for 16 years as a volunteer for the best of this borough. So your comments I find so far out of reach. Our solicitors on the internet. Jim, do you feel we're breaking all the laws here? We're running rogue on this electric stuff? I mean, you're our legal solicitor to comply with stuff. What this gentleman's accusing us of is just too much for me to understand.
Well, Mr. Shortline can tell council what he believes to be the law and what he believes to be the requirements or the authority given under the Constitution. If he wants to provide legal authority, he wants to provide any kind of memorandum of law with authority to that effect, or cite any case law in support of his assertions, we can certainly take a look at it. But the operation and procedures of our electric division, it's my belief, and we have had special counsel prepare our electric resolutions, our electric ordinances, and I believe that they did that with a full knowledge of what's lawful and what is not. So I don't think council's in a position to sit here and argue constitutional law with Mr. Shortline, who presents no credentials as being a constitutional law authority or scholar.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I'm gonna offer Mr. Reinhold, a committee member, a last comment, and I'm gonna adjourn the meeting. We have visitors out for the next meeting.
Yeah, I know, it's my committee, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean,
Well, mindful
I
of the time.
appreciate the conversation and discussion we have each month. I'm gonna stay calm tonight. I mean, I've been on council since 2010, and I've been on municipal enterprises that entire time. And I'll tell you, I don't understand all the complexities of it, but I do also take comfort. I mean, we all have our own things. Some of these guys are retired now, I mean, but certainly I'm working, so I don't have time to delve into this as deep as I'd like to on a daily basis, if you will. But I thought the gist of where we're at is, anything we're doing God forbid it better be legal, because that's why we have solicitors, school boards have solicitors, municipalities have solicitors. I'm not trying to put Jim on the spot, but, you know, there's no vested interest for any of us to make money for the public, for the borough's utility here. I mean, we're customers just like you, whether we take solar or not. I know Mr. Zimmerman said you looked into that the other month and decided against it. Is there a problem? Maybe there is, because there's only 3 customers, you being one of them, like you mentioned. But I remember when Miss Worley was here a couple months ago, and she had me thinking, you know, we're one of 35 municipalities in the state that's a public utility. And we are held to a different standard than the PUC. We're kind of under PMEA, right, Bob? I mean, in a way, but Chambersburg stuck out at me because with the true-up stuff that we talked about, maybe they're doing it on a monthly basis with their customers, and we're doing an annual true-up. So I don't know if we ever explored or looked into that at that point, but that's where usually we would just ask staff to say, hey, you know, reach out to them, figure out what they're doing, what's their take rate. I mean, it might be that some of these solar providers are like, anytime it's a public power, we're kind of avoiding that area, there's no benefit to us. I don't know that, I'm just saying, so that's the biggest thing. I don't think we're gonna take what's out of the PUC website and apply it to what we have, because it's,
Yeah, you need PPL?
oh yeah,
You could take
PPLs, anybody on, you know, through the PUC is what I'm saying, because it's just kind of a different set of rules, it sounds like.
But you're not reinventing the wheel. Net metering is a federal and statewide thing.
Well, we're not reinventing the wheel, I don't believe. I mean, I don't know if Bob can answer that before we wrap this up, but
This is
with
complete.
how all the municipalities are across the country and how they do net metering, you know, whether it's in Pennsylvania or Ohio or Tennessee or wherever, I don't know.
Well, let's just look at Lancaster and Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Let's look at the county and the state.
Well, we're probably the only public power in Lancaster.
But I mean, then we are our neighbors who you'd want to look at, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't want to look at Hawaii, I mean, or anything like that. We would want to be like our neighbors.
No, but I'm saying we would probably, my thought would be, we would look more and talk with the Chambersburg.
Oh, sure.
You know, compared
Most definitely.
to Akron, you know, because Akron's, they got a private entity running their public power. I mean, no, not their public power, just their power. They're not a public power.
But we can dissect the entire resolution. It's gonna require some people with knowledge on this.
Sure.
And
But I typically defer to those people being like Jim on there or so on and so forth. I'm not an expert on that. I try to pick up bits and pieces, and I can't remember everything that I voted on.
I mean,
sure I
I-
voted on 2019-15. I'm sure 1464 ordinance, if that goes back to early 2012 or whatever, I think I probably voted on that. I'm sure those records would be.
I would look to you guys for real knowledge in this. You know, that you're voting on things that you really have knowledge in, because I mean, that would be important to have your name associated with something you're proficient in.
We do vote on things.
Well, yeah, I think the perception sometimes, and I don't want anybody to think that all we are is a bunch of yes men up here, because that's not always it. We challenge staff a lot of certain things, but at the same time, personally, and I'm only speaking for myself, I defer to these guys working Monday through Friday, many hours and long nights, to get me the information to make me make a sound decision. And most times, I'm comfortable with that. Occasionally, if I'm like, there's more to it, and this is something that you're bringing to our attention, and I think it needs to, that conversation needs to continue until
Sure.
either you're satisfied or you're very clear as far as where we are, where we stand, and then, you know, like you said, maybe that means, if that doesn't go your way, maybe years from now, other people are up here in these positions. I'm sure they will be, you know, so.
Okay, with that, I'm gonna adjourn the municipal enterprise committee proceedings.
Charlie, just let those guys know. Please, you guys out there, thank you.